My brother mocked me at dinner saying, "Still single, huh? Must be lonely being a failure," so I exposed that I've been secretly paying his rent for 3 years and ended my family's favorite tradition right there at the table. Hi Reddit, I'm Mia, 31, and I think I just ended my family's favorite little tradition, the part where I quietly solve everyone's problems while they laugh at me. I'm using a throwaway for obvious reasons because, well, my family loves to pretend they're perfect. Growing up, I was always the responsible one. Straight-A student, always helping around the house, the child my parents bragged about when they needed to impress their friends. But the moment I hit 25 without a ring on my finger, that respect evaporated. Suddenly, my accomplishments didn't matter because I wasn't married. Meanwhile, my younger brother Jake, 28, was the dreamer. He changed careers every few months, moved from job to job like it was a hobby, and somehow managed to live rent-free in what my parents called his luxury loft. In reality, it was a tiny apartment paid for by me, the family's favorite success story. My parents, Bob and Linda, worship the ground Jake walks on. They see him as some sort of charming, misunderstood genius, while I'm just the too serious one. I moved out at 21, paid off my student loans, and built a decent career in finance. But the fact that I'm still single? That's practically a crime in their eyes. Every month, my parents host a family dinner. It's supposed to be a gathering, but it's really an interrogation disguised as tradition, with bad wine and worse conversation. If you skip one, you're guaranteed at least 12 guilt-tripping voicemails. "Mia, you know your brother always makes time, even when he's busy," my mom would say. So, as usual, I showed up. This time, the setup was obvious from the start. My aunt and uncle were there, Jake's girlfriend Stephanie came along, and my cousin's toddler was already causing chaos. I walked in with a bottle of decent Merlot, not that anyone noticed, and braced myself. The meal started predictably. My mom complained about her neighbors, my dad retold his favorite joke about accountants, and Jake bragged about his new consulting opportunity, which, in our family's secret code, means he got let go again but knew someone who might help him out. I could practically script the evening from memory. Halfway through, while everyone picked at the bland roast, Jake leaned back and delivered his usual performance. "Still single, huh? Must be lonely being a failure." He actually said it out loud. A table full of family members turned to watch my reaction like it was reality TV. My parents chuckled as if he were a stand-up comedian. Old me would have laughed it off. Changed the subject. Kept the peace. But not anymore. I set my fork down, smiled politely, and said, "Funny coming from a guy whose rent I've paid for 3 years. Not anymore, by the way." The silence was deafening. Jake's jaw dropped. My mother's face lost all color. My father coughed like he wanted to rewind time. Even the toddler stopped throwing peas. I picked my fork back up and continued eating, calmly enjoying my potatoes for the first time ever. No one spoke to me for the rest of the night. When dinner ended, I simply said goodbye, grabbed my coat, and left. What they didn't know was that for the last 3 years, I'd quietly covered Jake's rent because my parents begged me to help him get on his feet. Every month, an auto-pay transfer went straight from my account. Last week, I told them I was stopping. I guess they thought I'd never follow through, or that I'd never bring it up in front of everyone. The next morning, my phone exploded with messages. My mother, my father, Jake, all in a group chat meltdown. 7:06 a.m., Mia, call me ASAP. This is not how we do things in this family. 7:08 a.m., you embarrassed your brother in front of everyone. Apologize now. 7:10 a.m. Wow, real classy, Mia. How am I supposed to pay rent now? You just ruined everything. I ignored the calls, made coffee, and turned on a podcast. For once, I took a morning for myself. But by 9 a.m., the guilt parade had officially begun. My mom left a voicemail dramatic enough to win an award. "Mia, I don't know why you felt the need to humiliate your brother. You know he's struggling. You could have talked to us. You're tearing this family apart." I nearly laughed. Apparently, me stopping payments was tearing the family apart. If helping meant funding my brother's lifestyle while being called a disappointment, then sure, I needed help. By noon, Jake's girlfriend texted me, "Don't take your issues with Jake out on us. Grow up." I didn't even reply. The best part? Us. She'd been living in the apartment I paid for and never once said thank you. Later that day, my mother tried to reset the family narrative. Let's all move past last night's misunderstanding. Mia, just apologize and be done with it. I stayed silent. My aunt asked what happened, and Jake claimed I'd blown up for no reason. My cousin's wife privately messaged me, "Good for you, Mia." Someone needed to say it. By 3 p.m., Jake's landlord emailed both of us. Apparently, Jake never updated his contact info, so I was still listed as his point of contact. I replied politely, stating I was no longer financially responsible, then wished them luck. 5 minutes later, Jake called me crying, accusing me of abandoning him. "You've always bailed me out." "Why no?" I took a deep breath and said, "Because I'm tired, Jake. Tired of being everyone's backup plan. You're almost 30. Figure it out." Then I hung up. That night, I cooked dinner for myself, no forced smiles, no guilt, no bland roast, just peace. The week that followed was chaos. My family group chat transformed into a guilt storm. Mom sent long messages about family unity. Dad talked about sacrifice. And Aunt Carla, always the drama queen, wrote, "Maybe Mia just enjoys watching Jake suffer." Apparently, my refusal to pay rent was now a deep psychological crime. By Wednesday night, the drama reached my doorstep. I heard a knock and looked through the peephole. There stood Jake, disheveled, holding a duffel bag. His eyes were red, his voice trembling. "I've got nowhere to go, Mia. Stuff's mad. The landlord's calling collections. Mom says you're just bitter because you're alone. I'm your brother. You can't abandon me." For a second, old memories flooded back, nights when we were kids and he'd run to my room during storms. But then I remembered all the times I quietly paid his rent while he called me a failure. I shook my head slowly. "Jake, you had 3 years. I asked for nothing in return. If you want to stay here, you'll pay half the rent and groceries. Otherwise, this isn't my problem anymore." He stared at me like I'd just spoken another language. Then, without another word, he muttered, "Unbelievable," turned around, and walked away. 10 minutes later, my phone blew up again. "How could you leave your brother on the street? You're heartless. We don't even recognize you anymore." But in between the accusations were quiet messages of support. My cousin Dan texted, he needed a reality check. Uncle Mike said, "Proud of you, Mia." That night, I silenced the group chat. For the first time since I'd moved out, I slept peacefully. No more financial leaks. No more emotional manipulation. Just silence. Days passed, and then came the final straw, a letter with Jake's handwriting. Inside was a scribbled threat. "You owe this family. Don't think I won't tell everyone what you did." Attached was a rent invoice with my name on it. He still thought he could scare me into paying. I took a photo, sent it to my parents, and wrote, "This ends now. No more money, no more guilt, no more contact." 5 minutes later, my mom replied, "If that's how you want it, fine." Words spread fast. Without my payments, Jake lasted 2 weeks before getting evicted. His girlfriend left him, and he moved back in with my parents, what he called rock bottom. Eventually, a high school friend helped him land a part-time job at a hardware store. Not glamorous, but honest work for the first time in years. He complained a lot, but started taking extra shifts. The family rumor mill says he still lives with my parents, posting vague memes about fake family and toxic people. He's never apologized. Not once. At first, the silence felt strange. But then it felt freeing. I focused on work, joined a gym, started a book club, and even took a solo trip, something I'd always delayed because what if Jake needs something? For the first time in my life, I was living for me. A month later, my cousin Dan met me for coffee. He hugged me and said, "You look happier." I smiled because it was true. Maybe my family will change someday. Maybe they won't. But I finally stood up for myself. I broke the cycle. And to anyone reading this who's been the responsible one carrying everyone else, listen to me. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to choose yourself. Thanks for reading, Reddit. If you've ever been in my shoes, drop a comment below. Tell me your story, or just where you're from. Here's to new beginnings and to finally living without guilt. Like, share, and subscribe for more real stories of strength, boundaries, and sweet, quiet revenge.